This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Your hosts are Seth Jacobson and Patrick Heiler.
Hi, I'm Seth.
And I'm Patrick.
So once again, we are back with the two ladies from the Wheel of Time podcast. Would you please introduce the Wheel of Time? Jesus Christ. The White Tower podcast.
I love it.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Jess, your Amerlin seat.
I'm Jen, your keeper of the chronicles.
And we are from the White Tower podcast. We're awesome. You should listen to our podcast.
You totally should.
They're really funny, guys. Go listen.
Thank you. Anyway, we're here with the Wheel of Time spoilers on their 200th episode, and we are on...
Which...
This would be the 201st. Excuse me very much.
Oh!
We are past the 200th.
Burn!
You already were on that.
Oh, shit!
First episode.
How does math work?
Yeah.
Numbers go in, numbers go out. You can't explain that.
Fucking magnets. I don't know.
Fucking magnets. Chapter 42. A missing leaf, and her symbol is the wolf. Perrin stood near the Tuatha wagons under bright sunlight, alone, and there was no arrow in his side, no pain. Among the wagons, firewood was stacked ready to be lit beneath iron cookpots hanging from tripods, and clothes hung from wash lines. There were no people or horses. He wore neither coat nor shirt, but a blacksmith's long leather vest that left his arms bare. It could have been any dream, perhaps, except that he was aware it was a dream, and he knew the feel of the wolf dream, the reality and solidity of it, the long grass around his boots to the breeze out of the west that ruffled his curly hair, to the scattered ash and hemlock. The tinker's gaudy wagons did not seem real, though. They had an air of insubstantiality, a feel that they might shimmer and be gone at any moment. They never remained long in one place, tinkers. No soil held them. Wondering how much land held him, he rested a hand on his axe and looked down in surprise. The heavy blacksmith's hammer hung in a loop on his belt, not the axe. He frowned. Once he would have chosen that way. Had even thought he had, but surely no more. The axe. He had chosen the axe. Hammerhead suddenly became half-moon blade and thick spike, flickered back to stout cylinder of cold steel. Fluttered between. Finally, it stopped, as his axe, and he exhaled slowly. That had never happened before. Here, he could change things as he wanted with ease, things about himself, at least. "And I want the axe," he said firmly. "The axe." Looking around, he could just see a farmhouse to the south, and deer browsing the barley field, surrounded by a rough stone wall. There was no feel of wolves. He did not call Hopper. The wolf might or might not come, or even hear, but Slayer could well be out there somewhere. A bristling quiver abruptly tugged at his belt opposite the axe, and he had a stout longbow in his hand, with a broadhead arrow nocked. A long leather bracer covered his left forearm. Nothing moved except those deer. "Not likely I'll wake soon," he muttered to himself. Whatever that stuff was Faile had fed him, it had taken him right off. He remembered it as clearly as if he watched over her shoulder. "Fed it to me like I was a babe," he growled. Leave it there.
So we're talking about a missing leaf, which is Perrin in the in Tel'aran'rhiod, and the missing leaf is the one from the Waygate, because he had two on one side and one of them was removed. And so the missing leaf is like, oh, it's unlocked. Shit, their Trollocs coming.
Oh shit, I didn't even put that together. I was thinking about the way of the leaf.
I think it's the Waygate leaf, because there should be two.
No, I think you're right. One. That makes way more sense.
Which, fuck.
Yeah, and
could totally be a double meaning with missing the way of the leaf and Perrin using violence and stuff like that. There's no reason why it couldn't be a clever double meaning.
I feel like RJ does that a lot, where
sort of blew my mind right there.
The chapter title often means several things. I think it could refer to several things anyway.
Yeah, he likes to do a double meaning whenever he can.
That's fun.
So was Robert Jordan.
So I want to talk about Slayer, because I never actually figured out what the fuck his deal was. Who is he? Was he one of the Forsaken?
Do you want my summary?
Yes.
Please.
Okay. Slayer is two people.
Okay.
So One of the people is a man named Luc,
Yeah.
who was brother to Tel'aran'rhiod, Rand's mother.
Oh, okay.
And an Aes Sedai, Gitara, had a foretelling, and she said, you, Tel'aran'rhiod, must go to the waste and become a maiden of the spear, and you, Lord Luc, must go to the waste, or else the last battle will be lost. And so Lord Luc goes off to the waste. The other person is Isam. And Isam was actually one of the Malkier children. And so when Malkier was overrun, I think he's Lan's uncle, cousin.
Everybody's saying cousin.
He's Lan's cousin.
Okay.
And so when Malkier was overrun, him and his mother fled to the waste. His mother was killed, and he grew up in the town in the Blight.
Okay.
Sorry, I keep saying the waste. I meant the Blight. So
Okay.
he flees to the Blight from Malkier. And so at some point, Lord Luc flees to the Blight because of the prophecy. Isam is in the Blight. Lord Luc wants to learn to channel. The Dark One can't give that to him, but something happens with Isam, and Lord Luc. One lives, one dies, and somehow the souls are merged together into a single body, and that resulting body is named Slayer. And what it is it gives Lord Luc and Isam access to Tel'aran'rhiod, and so they can teleport between Tel'aran'rhiod and the real world, and in Tel'aran'rhiod they can switch between their two bodies, but they only can occupy a single body at a time.
God damn.
We know at least that much because occasionally the Forsaken will refer to Slayer as the two-souled one or something like that.
Yeah,
if anybody wants to correct me, but it's something like that. The two-souled one, or
I did not know that until you just told me that.
That's fucking
Well, I
heavy.
knew a little bit about Lan's family and there being dark friend history within Lan's family. I knew
that's Isam.
Yeah, we knew. Okay, so I didn't know that was Isam that was Slayer, you see. So this was all. So I knew about that, but I didn't know. That's interesting.
Well, I mean, that explains the description where, Perrin thought that Slayer could be Lan's brother.
Yeah,
I mean,
because they're cousins.
They're very close family. God damn.
Yep. And there's a section where Rand's father, Juandin, went to the waste to fight, and he was killed by someone who looks just like Tel'aran'rhiod.
Whoa.
And that was Lord Luc, who was also Slayer. So he went to the waste, he encountered Lord Luc, who was Tel'aran'rhiod's brother, and was killed by Tel'aran'rhiod's brother.
God damn.
His wife's brother.
Nynaeve also thinks Slayer looks like Lan when she sees him in Tel'aran'rhiod. That happened just a couple of chapters before this.
Yeah, and that's where she sees Isam. So if he looks like Lan, it's Isam. If it looks like Rand, it's Lord Luc.
But he's both, and he can appear as both. He can appear as either, is the better way to say that.
That's fucking crazy.
The Dark One is up to some shit, guys. That's amazing. I like that.
And they have different motivations. Like, Lord Luc truly hates Perrin, whereas Isam just enjoys hunting him. But they both want to kill him.
God damn.
If you guys are interested, I've been working on show notes for a patron-only episode that's going to be on Slayer, and that should be happening sometime in the next couple of weeks. We'll actually record it, but if you want, I could send it to you.
I'm gonna look at it. I'm very interested. Yes.
I'll support you on Patreon.
I'll support you guys. Of course.
Okay.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah, I'll support you guys. I'll do my Patreon. Of course. I'm doing it right now. I'm Patreoning you right now as we're doing this. Go ahead.
Patreon.com.
Y'all follow our lead. Become Patreons of the
We
WoT
should
Spoilers
get a
podcast.
Patreon.
You guys don't have one?
Yes, you should.
Heard that.
No, we
yeah, I love how you guys don't have one.
No, we pay for all of our bullshit out of our own pocket.
We've talked about the tax. Yeah, we talked about it. We
briefly discussed it, but we haven't gotten one.
This is, how we talked about saying yes to people?
Mm-hmm.
Having a Patreon is part of that. Someone asked us for it. We said yes. Has anyone ever asked you for a Patreon?
People
not that I'm aware of.
Not asked us, but questioned us about it. So not.
That's kind of what happened to us.
That's all you need.
We started getting messages where people were like, we can't find how to donate to your podcast. Can you please send the link? And we were like, and we just made the page and sent it.
Wait, you want to send us money? Why would you do that?
Okay. Sure.
That was our initial reaction. Y'all need to get on that.
Yeah, I suppose we should look into it.
Y'all need to get on that. That's all I'm going to say.
Jen, let's get on it. We'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later.
All right, back to the episode.
I wanted to point out one totally random thing, or not really random, but it's kind of weird that there are chickens in Tel'aran'rhiod. Usually there aren't domestic animals, isn't that what we...
Yes.
Yeah, I think they said that. Yeah.
But Perrin seems to think that they appear to be feral, which was interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once they've gone feral, they can appear in Tel'aran'rhiod, but domestic animals still do not. These are feral chickens. That's why they're in Tel'aran'rhiod.
Yeah, he did specifically say that he said that they'd already gone feral. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that supports the idea that only domestic animals or only non-domestic animals can appear in Tel'aran'rhiod.
I thought so too. I liked that.
That's very
I highlighted
interesting.
that as well.
Tel'aran'rhiod is one of my favorite parts of the series. It's so fucking interesting.
Boo! I don't like the Tel'aran'rhiod.
No, the idea that like you can
know.
control reality with your mind, and it's like
It's got to be kind of
it
satisfying.
was the Matrix
to everyone.
before there was the Matrix. It was so prophetic. It was so good.
I like it. I just Patreon the fuck out of you guys. FYI.
Love you.
Love you back.
You're a sweetheart.
I know.
This became literally a Patreon of you guys. I'm sure you guys saw that Jen had.
So, yeah, I like Tel'aran'rhiod. I think it's a really interesting plot device. I think that, it's just a really interesting concept. And I mean, I am by no means somebody who is extremely well read in fantasy. I have not read a ton of fantasy novels. I like Tolkien. I like Wheel of Time. I like Terry Pratchett. But, this is just something that just seems so entirely unique to me. I really enjoy it.
And I really felt like he came up with this in 1990, which is really pre-internet, before it became like a really big thing. And it feels like the internet to me, to be perfectly honest.
I don't know what that's true. It kind of does, doesn't it?
It's like this alternate world where you can jump on and have a conversation and your life can be totally ruined. Like, it's the internet. Like,
that's so the internet. The internet's branded. Cool. Ruin your life. Come on in. It's fun.
The internet isn't real, but what happens there is real.
It's super
Absolutely.
real.
If you die
Super,
online,
super real.
you die in real life.
And you can communicate with anybody, right? Mm-hmm. Like anybody else who can access the internet, you can also speak with them. All they need is a computer or a, Tel'aran'rhiod that gives them access to it.
Well, and one of the things that I really liked was, Egwene being such an advanced dreamwalker, she's out of Tel'aran'rhiod. She's actually out in the sort of, I don't know even what you'd call it, where it looks like it's all stars, but each of those stars is somebody's dream. And she can
cool.
Starscape.
Yeah. That
cool.
is so fucking neat. Like, how did he come up with that idea? That's so cool. And so I just love that she's like, oh, Rand's dream is fucking warded, so I can't see anything there. But then she's like a little creeper and she goes and she like peeks in Gawain's dream. And I'm like, girl, get some standards, but like, I get it. And it's just, it's very interesting. And it's a very cool concept, a very cool plot device. I love it.
Well, have you heard our whole theory that Galad really should have hooked up with Egwene, and that you should have had the head of the White Cloaks and the Armelin seat hooking up, and Galad should have been back with Elaine?
Let's do it. It's my headcanon now.
Yeah, you want to know what? Let's fucking go there. I'm on board. Gawain fucking sucks. I hate him.
Yeah,
everybody
hates
Gawain.
No, everybody fucking hates Gawain. That should have been the name of Everybody Hates Rand. That podcast should have been Everybody Hates Gawain.
No,
if they had gone with that, I would be listening to that goddamn podcast right now.
Damn it.
But they didn't. They went with the wrong fucking character. Everybody Hates Gawain.
You should still listen to it, though. They're brilliant.
Fuck that dude.
But, like, seriously, fuck him.
Yeah.
Fucking fuck him. Like, oh, he sucks. But, like, Galad? Okay, you want to know what? Listen, he starts out lawful good, which I do not have time for lawful good. Get your house in order. Yeah. You're insane. But he's like, one of the things I like about Galad as a character is he actually has some character development. And all of a sudden, things are challenging his perceptions. And you know what? He kind of goes with it.
Yeah,
and Lee,
adapts.
yes, you're right. We're not actually gonna fuck him, just sort of like the fuck that guy kind of fuck him. Not actually. We're not gonna smash him like a Terry's chocolate orange. We're not doing that.
Terry's chocolate orange.
Gawain is unsmashable. Yes, that is right.
That was bordering on genius.
I wish I could take credit. I can't take credit. I didn't come up with those, but thank you. I'm glad you thought it was funny. But with Galad being the kind of, he starts to sort of like, he's expanding a little bit. He's thinking outside the box. He's convinced that Perrin is a dark friend, but then Perrin like has his back and he's like, okay, well, maybe things are a little bit more gray than I thought they were. I thought it was black and white. It's not, whatever. He's growing as a person. We're having a moment, whatever. But Galad, if he had been Egwene's warder and she had told him to do a thing, he would have fucking done it.
Yeah, he'd have
no shit. He would be on that.
Yeah, and if she told him to not do a thing, he would have not done it. He would have just like not done it. Whereas Gawain's like, oh, I'm just gonna go do whatever the fuck I want because I apparently can do that. You want to know what?
And frankly, Galad would have been a decent moral compass for Egwene.
Yes.
Egwene needed a bit more of a moral compass, and Galad would have been the perfect compass for her. She may not have always stuck with his direction, but he would have given her a direction.
Well, he would have given her some direction, right? And the thing is that especially in the world of Aes Sedai, it's so morally ambiguous. Having somebody who is, even if they're like hard moral, hard right, hard lawful, whatever, they're giving you a little bit of perspective to balance whatever it is that you have way, way over on the other side. I think that probably would have been extremely helpful to her because, listen, there are people who will not agree with me. And you know what? Meet me in the fucking parking lot because I'll fight you. Egwene is fucking awesome. Think about what you were when you were 17 or 18 years old. Personally, myself, I was a fucking idiot. But Egwene, when it was like, oh, you want to make me a puppet, Amyrlin? Okay, cool. I'm going to take that shit, and y'all my puppets now, bitch. I'm going to, run this fucking show. And then she gets fucking captured in the White Tower. They're trying to break her ass. She's like, nah, bitch, I don't break. And she's just, acting Amyrlin when she's supposed to be a fucking accepted, and everybody's like, I don't even know what to do with this right now. I would love to think that 18-year-old Jessie would be able to do that. Realistically, 18-year-old Jessie wouldn't have been able to do that. And 18-year-old Jessie was very sassy. So, Egwene is fucking awesome.
She totally
Then
is.
she went, and then she had fucking Gawain for a goddamn warder. And I'm like, girl, you fucked up.
So what do you think about this alternate couple? Gawain,
you know what? Gawain and Berelain, they deserve each other.
Yeah, so you swatch Galad.
they can fuck off and be idiots somewhere. That's fine. I'm fine with it.
Not a fan of either of those two.
I don't have any
just get the fuck out of here.
Either way about that alternate couple. I'm like, whatever, that's cool.
It makes me feel bad for Berelain.
I and we talked about this on the other podcast. It's like everybody has to be paired together. Some characters don't even need to be paired together. In my headcanon, even though Berelain falls in love with who she loves, needs to be just single and having fun with lots of guys and not paired with anybody, in my opinion.
I'm down with that.
Yeah. Berelain can just go climb a dick.
She doesn't need to be paired off with anybody.
She doesn't need to be paired off.
She's man, and let her be Berelain.
Berelain's
Robert
gonna Berelain.
Jordan created a character. She's autonomous completely. Just let her do her own thing. Who cares?
I imagine she had a fling with Galad just enough to get the army under her control.
You want to know what? You know that she climbed that if she had the opportunity.
Oh yeah, totally. But then
100%.
She convinced the White Cloaks to do what she wants, and then is fucking off to do whatever the fuck else she wants.
Yeah,
and then she's like, peace them out.
Introduce Berelain, we get Berelain's character, and then we leave Berelain the fuck alone. Let Berelain do her own thing. Let's have her own mind. Just contemplate whatever Berelain's doing in her own free time.
Okay, Berelain. Now, my memory is imperfect. There are maybe things that I have forgotten, but as far as I can tell, Berelain's entire complete purpose is to climb a dick. All she wants to do is fuck.
Well, for power. She wants to fuck power.
And you want to know what? I respect that. Girl knows what she wants. That's fine.
Getting paired off. And there's guys that are the same way too. Like I could see Bail Dolman not falling in love. He could be his own thing. Bail Dolman.
Like, can you please not hit on a married man who's obviously not interested? Bitch, what's your problem?
It's a power move. That's all it is. It's not because she actually likes Perrin. It's just a power move. It's just a power move.
You know,
it's just that's all it is.
If I had been there, I would have fucking slapped her. Bitch. Move
That's
on.
I honestly think and then takes
and I don't even really give a fuck about Faile. It's just you stop it. Just stop. You're embarrassing yourself.
Anyway, let's Tel'aran'rhiod. Okay.
I think she's a little psychotic in terms of like she doesn't have very much empathy. And so she like only sees things on a power scale. She doesn't see things on she like just doesn't understand interpersonal relationships on a very almost autistic level.
Yeah, kind of like I don't understand why there is any man in the world who wouldn't want to get all up on this. And also, he likes somebody else, but so why does that matter? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, canon is that Berelain is gay and that she only uses men for power moves. That's my headcanon.
I like that.
Berelain's gay?
In my headcanon, it's like she doesn't even really like men. She just uses them and then moves forward. And the only person she could actually love is another woman that can seduce on her level. And that's the only power she'll ever respect.
I fucking love that.
That's
you want to know what? I love
that. She only
respects
respects another woman that can seduce another man just like she can. And her and another woman just seduce men all over together.
That's
powerful. That's what I think.
So are you thinking Faile and Berelain get together to prove that like the rumors aren't true?
Faile and Berelain hate fuck each other from here to eternity. They both take turns with Perrin, and why not? Why not? To me,
we already have a 4 group in the system. Why can't we do 3?
Berelain can understand as a woman that completely understands and gets her on a level a man never can, and says, "Yes, I understand the power that you wield. I have this power too. So what, bitch?" And then they just go at each other, and yeah, I see that. I definitely see that. That's my
fucking brilliant.
Someone write that fanfic.
And with Min's prophecy about the falcon and the hawk on each shoulder, I mean that they seem to have some sort of equality with Perrin.
Yeah, Jordan already had it there. Agreed with you. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
There it is.
I can headcanon it, but
done.
Feel free to argue with me. Yeah. Moving on.
Yes.
Moving on.
Perrin finds out that he's married to a queen's cousin.
Womp womp.
God damn it, you're rich and powerful.
Shit.
He's not excited about it.
Christmas is going to be so awkward.
I'm going to have to buy some really nice gifts. Damn it.
I guess I just can't get that Death to Smoochie DVD. Womp womp.
Perrin goes to check out the Waygate, and I kind of wanted to note that Perrin can't access it. He can't go into the ways.
Yeah, the ways don't appear in Tel'aran'rhiod. They're definitely a separate world.
It's just a
dimension or whatever.
Yeah, he can't go in,
surface.
And he doesn't he can see that it's open, but he can't see who's coming through it.
Trollocs.
Dun-dun-dun!
I would love to see some high-kicking Trollocs come into a dance musical.
Okay, you want to know what? A Trolloc kick line is something I didn't know I needed, but I do.
I want it. I want it badly.
I want it very badly.
It's, you know what? It's too much watching Buffy, where he's got like demons doing a kick line in the background of the musical episode.
It's just, it's a small step from demons to Trollocs.
It really is.
I get it.
It really is. And so that's what I was thinking of. And like the Buffy musical came to mind. I was like, I want to see Trollocs doing that.
Anybody doing fan art? Get after it.
Come on. Trolloc kick line. With the tights.
Obviously.
And in tights. Obviously. Throwback. Robin Hood men in tights. I love that. I love that movie. That was my favorite when I was a kid. Like,
That's
my
so
mom
good.
got so mad because we didn't have movies in our house growing up. I don't know why. Let's just move on. But every time I got sick and stayed home from school,
I love you
I asked my mom, I said, can you please rent this movie for me? She goes, why? You watched this every time you were sick for the past 3 years. I'm like, I need to watch this. So every time I was sick, the only thing that made me feel better when I stayed home and was in bed was Robin Hood Men in Tights. And it is my favorite comedy movie to this day of all time.
I'm picturing Randolph Thor in the Trolloc in tights.
But to drive this forward, well, geez,
What direction is that?
the next thing I really have is the confrontation between Perrin and Slayer.
Yeah, where he almost falls for Slayer's trap again, and then turns around and almost gets Slayer, but hesitates, and Slayer gets away. It's sort of a foreshadowing for their back and forth battle in the final battle.
Yeah, they chase each other around a bit, and then there's this kind of scene where Slayer's just talking to Perrin for a bit and saying, like, neat trick locking the Waygate. If you knew how many Shadowrot died trying to get out of that gate, it would lift your heart.
I thought Shadowrot was an interesting term for Trollocs, and
That's something that they hadn't used previously.
yeah, and I almost feel like they never used it before. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we've
Shadow
seen
Spawn,
it.
but not Shadow Rot.
Is that the only one?
I've never heard that before.
I'm in my reread now up to I'm on book 9. I haven't seen Shadow Rot since that chapter. No.
Yeah, I'll have to do a search at some point to see if that comes up ever again, but I feel like that's maybe the only time it's ever used. And I'd like to point out the couple paragraphs before that. This Slayer's high-collared coat had a borderlander cut, and his face looked enough like Lan to be the warder's brother. Mm-hmm. Only Lan had no brothers, no living kin at all that Perrin knew. And that's because he's his cousin.
Except for this fucking asshole cousin.
Right. His fucking dark friend cousin who decided to go up to the border and want to learn to channel and swear to the Dark One so he could channel.
I remember
every family's got one.
Cousin's mother was the one that betrayed his cousin.
Well, and Moraine's like the family white sheep. She's like the only one who's decent. The rest of them
she's the only one who's
terrible.
not an asshole.
The Damodreds?
Yeah, they're fucking awful. I mean, Layman caused the whole fucking Aiel War
because he's got to get that throne made out of
fucking out of his mind.
These are really good with using these terms and getting through the main parts of the chapter. Props to WoT Spoilers to you guys and then obviously doing the read-in for people and then quickly pointing out the main points of the chapter while we go into frivolity in between.
Oh, that's our usual. That's what we do. I try to make sure we hit the main plot points, but then we can trail off as much as we want in whatever direction, and that's what really makes the.
Your strength, Patrick, is getting us back in line once we frivolitied too much and saying, okay, this is the plot point, the next one.
Patrick is our dad.
Patrick, this podcast needs you. I'm like, congrats, you guys. I love you guys.
I like to ask the questions. Patrick likes to put us on point.
You guys have a really well-working system, and I see why you guys have been such a powerhouse for these past 2 years and how it's worked for you guys. So,
well, thank you for the flattery.
No, it's true. I'm involved in it, so I see it even more clearly.
I do appreciate that. That's nice of you to say.
We're talking about Lord Luc and Lan and Moraine being the white duck. I think someone said in the chat.
No, I was actually a sheep, not duck.
I was making a joke like duck.
I love you very much. Oh, okay. Too much fireball? Maybe. No man can say. So,
no such thing.
No, is there? No, there's not such a thing as that. So I actually really enjoyed when Faile said, "You are pretty when you sulk," and pinched Perrin's nose. I thought that was funny.
You should smile more.
Come here so I can punch you.
Yeah,
what did you fucking say to me?
I feel like that's like it's a role reversal that's happening in that moment.
It kind of is.
True, Patrick.
Smile for me, cutie.
I mean, if it's your partner, then it's more of a sort of, I feel like it's different when it's your partner than when it's like a guy in an elevator.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, I like that where she's like, oh, you're pretty when you sulk. Just needling him, just sort of like, oh, really? You're going to be a little bitch about it? Okay, well, here we go.
I like it too.
Well, and I like the way he phrases it as compared to the way she phrases it, where he's like, I'm going to sit here in dignified silence. And she's like, stop sulking. And it's like, the way he sees it as dignified silence, she sees it as like a little sulk in the corner.
Oh, you're pouting. That's cute.
Yeah. He's like, no, it's dignified silence. Dignified that's silence. What pouting is.
Of course it is, sweetie. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I really like those role reversals too. Particularly in these situations, because like our main male characters are all such huge dudes. So like Perrin's a giant guy and Faile's small, and even by regular standards, but next to him I just feel like it makes the role reversal even more fun because she's so much smaller than he is. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, there is a certain amount of satisfaction that you get from just deviling someone.
Sure. I'm sure part of that is
very much just has his opinions and the things that he thinks, and then you just sort of get to needle him a little bit, and it's a good time. It's a fun time. And so she's doing that to him, and they're sort of together at this point. So
yeah, it's maybe a bit of flirting too.
Well, question. It's a little bit of flirting
with each other.
Did Faile ever dance the Sasara for Perrin?
You know what? I don't know. In my head canon,
does it ever happen in the series?
I don't think
it was ever written, but in my head canon, yes, absolutely.
It's awful because we have that tease, and then that was never shown.
And then he died.
Talir says post book, yes. Is that just headcanon? Oh, in your mind.
I'm like, did she ever actually was it written?
Last battle after.
Maybe once the world is an ending, they can have a couple of date nights and,
The last battle after party, everybody goes to Denny's because it's the only place that's open 24 hours.
The only place that's still open on the last day of the world. Well, it's Denny's or the Pancake House.
Yeah,
Denny's is for winners.
So
hey,
fond belittling. Yeah. We got some people weighing in on elevator guys. Yep. Elevator guys are terrible. Sometimes it's very uncomfortable getting into an elevator with men, but that happens.
I was going to make a point. And
I believe in you. Can you remember it? I believe in you. You can do it.
I'm actually not drunk, but I just forgot the point just because of who I am as a person.
I mean, while we're talking about Denny's, I just have to shout out to the Blue Ribbon restaurant outside of Philadelphia in the Swarthmore suburb because it was open all night, and I ended up there many, many times in college, very drunk. And
that's nice.
The Blue Ribbon special was $2.99 for 2 eggs, 2 pieces of toast, and 2 pieces of bacon, and
that's
it was wonderful, and an unending cup of coffee.
Oh, that's
nice. It was
wonderful.
24 hours, and I loved that place, and I ended up there so fucking often.
That's
thank
beautiful.
You. I like
that restaurant for dealing with college me. Yeah, I mean the next thing we really have to talk about is the Tuganda and the Sasanza.
So
we haven't talked about that technically.
I mean, strippers, right?
So I always assumed the Tuganda was belly dancing.
I feel like that's belly dancing.
Yeah, and then the more fluid one is stripping. The Sasanza.
Yeah, I mean the Sasara, I think is called.
Sasara.
I was looking for it earlier.
I feel like that must be right.
RJ there was a quote floating out there somewhere about the Sasara, and it's basically him refusing to describe it, which happens throughout the book. There is no description of the Sasara. It's only that that it's super hot, it'll boil the blood in your veins and all that.
Perv.
Yeah, I can't find it right now, but
I know the one that you're speaking about.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're saying about. You need a permission slip from your mother, or
right. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I know.
And a note from your doctor.
Yeah.
And he was like, in order to explain to you what it is, first I need all of this.
And it's a wonderful way to,
Yeah, it sounds legit. Sounds a little intense.
I kind of like Julian's quote where he calls for the 3 ingredients for torture, and he's like, I don't know what I'd use them for, but the shit they make up in their heads is more enticing.
It's just like that.
Oh,
He's
yeah, like
get me a quart of cooking oil, 2 rats, and a candle, or I don't remember. It was something.
Oh, maybe that's all. Maybe
that's in the chat. Satanist put it up. Thank you, Satanist.
Maybe the Sasara is just the hype. That's all it is. Nobody's ever danced the Sasara. It's just the idea of it. It ignites the imagination. And before you ever get to it, everybody's ready to bone down.
A neat trick, Golden Eyes, locking the Waygate. Perrin tensed, ears straining. No telling from where in this dense growth that voice had come. Not so much as a leaf rustled. If you knew how many of the shadow rot died trying to get out of the ways there, it would lift your heart. Ma Shin feasted at that gate, Golden Eyes, but not a good enough trick. You saw. The gate is open now. There, off to the right, Perrin slipped through the trees as silently as he had when he hunted here. It was only a few hundred to begin, Golden Eyes, just enough to keep those fool white cloaks off balance and see that the renegade died. Slayer's voice became angry. The shadow consume me if that man does not have more luck than the White Tower. Abruptly he chuckled. But you, Golden Eyes, your presence was a surprise. There are those who want your head on a pike. Your precious 2 rivers will be harrowed from end to end now, to root you out. What do you say to that, Golden Eyes? I'll leave it there, but Perrin
the beginning of the Golden Eyes
realizes he can't figure out where Slayer is, and he flicks out of the dream and into a regular dream. Out of the capital T dream, capital D dream, and into lowercase dream. And he's just cuddling Faile in a bush somewhere.
and I'd like to point out just like how much of Slayer's motivation that gives away, that he's there just to keep the White Cloaks off balance and see the Renegade dead. And the Renegade, I think, is Faine.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
And then who we notice here is pretty lucky. Which
He
is
went off the
parallel
rails
to
real
Matt.
fast, didn't he?
Yeah,
Jesus.
he did. And so, but now he's like bringing in all these Trollocs to bring down Perrin.
Right, because now
through the Waygate.
Now he's angered Slayer, whereas before he was just kind of like whatever, another force that was around, and Slayer didn't care. Now Slayer's pissed that he's interfered with his plans.
I'm looking forward to going back and reading through all of those Slayer Perrin chapters, because I had a difficult time kind of wrapping my mind around exactly what was happening with those, because I did not really understand who he was. Thank you for your intel on that, Beachy Dubs. I think I'm looking forward to getting back into that, because it's going to be interesting to go through. And
because you guys are still going through Eye of the World, right?
Yeah, we're getting close to the end. We just did like
the end.
41 and 42, I think.
We're about to hit Feldara.
Yeah.
So
nice.
We're getting to the end of the other. Oh my God, Jess, we're almost at the end of our first.
We're almost at the end. 6 months later, we're almost at the end of book 1. I went through and I actually counted it. If we do 2 chapters per episode, it's going to take us like 6.5 years to get through the series.
You've
That's
come
where
to the
we're
same
at.
conclusion we have. Yeah. Because we do 1 chapter per episode, but we do 2 chapters per week.
Uh-huh.
Whereas you're doing 1 episode per week, but 2 chapters per
yeah.
episode. So it's the same rate.
Yeah.
Just slightly different.
So, 200 episodes later, you're on book 4.
Yep.
Oh, man.
That's where we are. And not at the end of book 4. We're kind of in the middle to the end of book 4.
Yeah, I'm in for the long haul. I'm fine with it, but fuck, that's a lot of time. Yeah, I think
it's a marathon. I'll tell you that. It is a marathon.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Can I quest something really quick?
Do it.
Oh, depending on how you guys feel about this, I'm just gonna go out there.
Go for it.
Can you guys, for our listeners, that maybe just I'm sure all of our listeners already know who you are. Really quickly say who maybe your favorite characters are, or maybe your favorite book, or what you like about the Wheel of Time the most, or something like that too. I know this is kind of late in the game to be doing this, but a very quick thing.
No, that's okay.
So we know that. Can we just
Actually,
I mean, TSR is my favorite. The Shadow Rising, the book we're on right now, is definitely my favorite. I love the Aiel, but if I had to pick a favorite character, to be honest, when we started this, I always felt the most connection to Matt, but the more we read, the more I feel connected to Rand.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why do you feel that way?
I like him more and more, and I feel like I really like his character a lot because he's dealing with such complicated things all of the time. He's very much like a simple young man who's gotten cast into this place where he really has no right to be. He's a king, and he has all these crazy jobs, and he has to understand all these different cultures and things, and he's just like very much a young man just muddling his way through the world, making lots of mistakes. And now I relate a lot to that. I relate to messing things up and being mean to the wrong people, and all of that stuff. Like, I get that now. I don't know, and maybe it's because I'm older that I understand Darth Rand.
Yeah,
I get it. It is hopeless.
I think it's all a really valid point, because if you think about it, if you look at the other people in the story who are preparing to become monarchs, or who are in line for the throne in a monarchy, if we're talking about, Faile or something like that, these are all people who have been trained from birth to understand what it is that they're getting into. They understand the economy, they understand politics, they understand all of these things about their country, right, and the people that they're meant to lead. And then you have Rand, who is coming from the back end of nowhere, and he doesn't have that kind of education. He doesn't have that kind of background. And now all of a sudden, not only is he supposed to be the king of, whatever, with his crown of swords, I don't remember what that was, but Alien, yeah, sorry. He also is supposed to be the Dragon Reborn. He's supposed to unite nations. He's supposed to bring people together to fight the dark. And what kind of background does he have for that? He knows sheep, So right. I completely understand why somebody would relate to that.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a good Rand's story is kind of a good, it's like the fantasy version of what I felt like coming into real adulthood was like for me, where I kind of got, long story short, out into the world a lot sooner than many people, and I just kind of like found myself muddling through very quickly, like, well, if you don't know how to do a thing, go find someone who does, get instructions from them, copy them down, and then go apply. He's like, just figure it out, because no one's going to help you. You're in this alone, And I don't know. I like that about reading Rand's character. He's stuck alone, and he's afraid to trust people for good reason. Yeah, just muddling through, and oftentimes doing a bad job, which is like a lot of my life.
I mean, that's all of us, honestly. Like, a mood.
To introduce ourselves to your readers, I think is our readers and your listeners. I think it's important.
They're readers.
They're readers. We're all readers and listeners. So my favorite male character is Lan. My favorite female character is Nynaeve, and this was even before I realized you're even getting together. So not just because they're a couple.
It's not because they're your one true pairing.
They're not. I have an OTP. But not in this fandom. So, of the brown Ajah, what about you, Jess? What Ajah are you, and who are your favorite characters?
Okay, well, I'm green. Obviously, the green is a front. They talk about being prepared for Tarmon Gai'dan. We all know that they're not doing fuck all, because it's all a front for banging. Yeah. And I mean, I'm fine with that. As far as favorite character goes, it's kind of difficult. At the moment, I'm looking at it from the reread that we're doing on our podcast, not what I have read so far or anything like that. I think right now, as of chapter 42 of The Eye of the World, Egwene is probably my favorite. Overall, taking everything into consideration, I don't know. I really have a soft spot for Avienda. I think she's pretty badass.
Ooh, if I never picked if I had to pick a female favorite character, that's tough.
it's really, really hard to choose. And I honestly feel like day to day, my answer would probably change.
Yeah, I love Min, and I love Avienda too. Nynaeve. There's a lot of good, strong female characters.
Stop asking me to pick my favorite children. Like, it's not okay. I love them all. I mean, if you want to say who do I identify with, I identify most with Perrin. I mean, I'm a dog lover first and foremost.
Dogs are pure and beautiful.
Awesome. Me too.
Yeah. And so
let's all share pictures of our dogs.
Yeah.
Let's share pictures of the dogs. Let's do it. Go ahead.
I've always felt, at least from a young age, that I was capable of hurting other people, and that was something that I always felt like I had to hold in control and be careful about as just a male child. And like, I got to my size at a young age, but then never really got any bigger. So I was like bigger than a lot of the young kids, but am not a big adult. Mm-hmm. So it was just like a weird place for me to be in terms of, and that I identified a lot with Perrin in that whole like, and also the whole like not really being super deft at conversation and like being a little awkward and slow spoken and overthinking everything. Like it all sort of came together into me what felt very Perrin-esque, where I'd rather go run with the wolves than deal with people. Is basically how I dealt with it.
I hear that so
too.
much.
Yeah. And so that's where like Perrin was my fucking, he was my guy.
Ride
for
or
a long,
die.
long time. Yeah, totally. But coming back to it as an adult, like I just, like I said, I can't. I love all of these characters for various different reasons.
They're all They're all beautiful and flawed in different ways that make them so relatable.
But for right now, my female character is Moraine. All the shit she gets up to and all the things she's able to accomplish.
Honestly, she's badass, right?
Yeah. And she's an example of what Aes Sedai should be.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
There's a reason she's a hero.
Yeah.
Like, she's skilled, she's a healer, she's a fighter, she's out there accomplishing things, she's skilled at manipulating people, she's adorable.
Cheers.
I really hope, there's a lot of talk out there, I really hope the show makes her Asian. Just saying. Sorry, I'm kind of changing. I don't mean to change the subject.
I really hope all of Cairhien is an Asian-looking group of people, just because of the way they're described is heavily Asian.
Yeah, I hope they do that with
I'm really interested in how all of that is going to play out. I feel like there are some people, I've seen them sort of in the different threads on Twitter in particular, people who they obviously feel like everybody in the Wheel of Time so far has been white, and they are objecting to the fact that maybe they're not white. But I am just really looking forward to the potential of racial diversity in this fucking show.
In any fantasy series, yeah.
I mean, Seldaea, in my head, Seldaea is Indian. They're Indian. Like, Faile is Indian, and she's beautiful, and she's brown, and she's gorgeous, and I'm so excited about it. And like, Emond's Field, they're Latino. All of them, they're Latinx. All of them, brown eyes, dark hair, brown skin, beautiful Latinx people. Like,
except for Rand,
who was like this fucking ginger ass motherfucker. Like,
right, he stick out like a goddamn sore thumb.
Seriously.
How the hell is Moraine gonna roll in and be like, I wonder which of you doesn't belong?
Maybe it's the freakishly tall redheaded man. That could be
maybe.
It.
Oh no, his mother's from out of town. Oh, okay, yeah, that explains it. Yeah, right. And he's been like, I imagine this tall ass, like a tall ass ginger with his father, like Tam, being this like Mexican looking dude, and
like
being,
seriously, like short, stocky, like broad shouldered, like he'll kick your ass, but he's really compact, kind of like Latino dude. Like, oh my god, that's so good. It's so good,
right?
That would be funny if they were like the kind of Maya strain of Latino, like 5 feet tall,
But like broad, strong people.
Yes.
And this poor Rand is 1.5 feet taller than everyone.
It is freakishly pale, freckled.
They rewrite the whole thing on Winter Night. Instead of Rand dragging Tam through the forest, Rand just like bridal carries his own dad
Just...
like, from the house. He just bridles his dad.
Oh my god!
All right, Papa, let's go.
Well, Tam is a very short man. It's fine. Oh god, it's just I feel like there's so much. I feel like there were hints given in the text to indicate that the different countries sort of coalesced with different races in our world. And I really hope that the folks who are doing the show are taking advantage of that and bringing in a lot of diversity, because it just makes it more interesting. You know, it's like
I had to have an argument with someone saying that Tuon was black, and they were like, "No, she's just." And I was like, "Are you?"
No,
that's pretty clear.
It specifically said that she's black.
Yeah.
Right.
In my head,
and I threw like 4 or 5 quotes at him, and he was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And I was like,
because
"Yeah,
she's
okay."
fucking black. And in my head, Tuon is Lupita Nyong'o. Fight me.
Yeah, she is. She totally is.
She'd be perfect.
I gotta Google that.
Perfect.
Terrible
Google
face.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Oh,
yeah.
She's cute.
Right? Isn't she? She's beautiful. Yeah. Her face is perfect. She has a perfect face, and her skin is just luminescent and gorgeous. And I'm like, how can you be this perfect and love you?
Tuon.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. That's my headcanon.
I'm just sad. I'm sad we have to wait 3 years to get Tuon.
I know it's going to take so long to get there. It's going to be torture.
Although with the new episode, The Dragon Reborn, and then The Flame of Tarvalon, who knows where we're going to go with the first season.
It sounds like they're really, I'm excited to see what they do with it, because it's okay, so are they just squishing everything together really fast? Or are they mixing things up? We got a little omelet going? What's happening? I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are feeling very trepidatious about it, myself personally.
I think they're going to try and keep us guessing a little bit.
I mean, I do feel like they're probably fucking with us to a certain extent. For sure.
Yeah. He said, let the speculation begin.
Yeah.
He's not ignorant of what's going on.
Yeah, they know. But yeah, it'll be really interesting because, we're certainly obviously we have an expectation based on the timeline that happened in the books and the way that all of that was written out. But there were some people speculating about the page that Rafe posted, was it today or yesterday, of the script, and it's entitled The Dragon Reborn. Okay, so does that mean that they're talking about Logain? Are they talking about something else? They're thinking maybe they were going to bring in that prologue from the Eye of the World with Lews Therin. There's a whole bunch of different things that they could be doing with this, and myself, I'm excited to see what they come up with.
I am too.
Especially because they seem so in tune. They're really involved with the community. Rafe does not have any obligation to come in and hang with us on Wheel of Time Wednesday or whatever day he's able to get in because he's busy on Wednesday. But he still comes in. He shares stuff with us. Hey, we got this person on the team. Hey, we talked to this author. And Sarah Nakamura is all up in our business all the time.
Whenever I talk to her, she responds with 5 paragraphs, and I'm like, okay, you responded.
You know literally everything in the world. I just really feel I feel like we're in good hands. So I am optimistic that this is going to be a good thing.
As I've said, Harriet picked Sanderson. I trust in Harriet. She picked Rafe. She has shown that she is a strong woman in solid control of the series and has done well by it even after Robert Jordan has passed. And in a way, I still think one of the authors of The Wheel of Time is still alive because I give her as much credit for the series as I give Robert
absolutely.
Jordan. And certainly probably even more than I give Brandon Sanderson.
Well, I mean, she was there the whole time that it was being written. I'm certainly he talked to her about it, and
she was his editor.
Yeah.
So everything that he wrote, he ran by her, and she. Yeah.
So she absolutely knows.
And you think she didn't write a couple of scenes?
Oh no, she absolutely did. I'm sure she did.
Yeah. So anyway, so I trust in Harriet. That's really what in terms of like what's going down with this TV series is she is obviously intimately involved in picking the people and consulting and making sure that this vision of the Wheel of Time conforms to something that we all want to see on the big screen. And so I trust in her vision more so than and Rafe seems to be the right person to shepherd this. He knows the fandom, he's happy to participate, and he seems to be pulling in really talented people who've worked on Game of Thrones, people who've worked on Westworld and other extremely high budget, extremely well done sci-fi and fantasy series. So, I may be eating my own words in 2 years, but I am super excited for the potential of this TV show.
I mean, we may end up eating our words later on down the line, but right now with the information that we have, it's looking good. I'm excited for it. I can't wait. I think it's going to be great. So if you don't think so, you can fight me.
The working chat is like, can't wait for the Tangents of the White Tower episode, WTT. I'm like, oh my God.
That's the thing that we do every once in a while where we have an episode that's not really about anything. So that's what they mean. Where we just have someone on and talk the whole time.
All right. Yeah.
No, don't worry about
this
it.
one might be. Yeah, because we've done Eye of the Tangents.
I like that one. That's funny.
The Great Tangent, the Tangent Reborn, and now we're doing the Tangent Rising. So, no, I mean, like we can do it for every single one, right? Like,
oh yeah,
the Tangents of Heaven, the Lord of Tangents,
That's really
Tangent's heart,
Lord of the Tangents.
Yeah. Winner's Tangent also works.
Crossroads of Tangents.
the path of the tangents.
A memory of tangents.
They all were.
So
Tangent
the
of
bulk
dreams.
of this episode is going to be cut out and called the White Tower Tangent. So there's going to be a bonus episode in here somewhere. Yep. Yeah, well, after 200 episodes, it's nice to bring in fresh voices and bullshit a little bit.
Absolutely.
fresh as hell.
Yeah.
I feel like I should
come back
point
on
out, too, that
again.
we did hit all the major points of this chapter. We talked about the flag. We talked about Verin and Alana. Did we do that in the last chapter? I can't remember now. But we have talked about all of it. Whatever.
They were, honestly, all in all, they were fairly short chapters, so...
Yeah, they kind of were.
Yeah. There's a couple of little sentences I could probably get into, a little more detail about.
Go ahead.
The whole, like, them saying goodbye and the way, like, all the cute guys are hugging Faile and all the old women are hugging Perrin. And the way Faile's, like, standing guard over him.
Honestly, what did they say? She's guarding him like a mastiff. Like, she's giving off that fucking vibe, like, bitch, you better don't.
Do not touch.
You better don't.
You better don't. This is mine. Thank you. Like, that actually makes me laugh and is kind of relatable. So I love it. And yeah, Alana is not Black Ajah. Alana is not Black Ajah.
So you heard me say that.
As someone, Leia, she said in the chat, she goes,
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not black. She's dumb, but she's not black.
Feel free to dig into me. I'm not saying she is. I'm just thinking about it.
Do you want to know?
Real hard.
You want to know who I want to dig into? I want to dig into fucking Alana bonding Rand without permission, without consent. Bitch, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Dig into it.
Yeah.
Take the lead. Go for it.
Okay, so let's talk about the fact that, let's talk about the water bond. The water bond is really we're walking a line with that shit because you're basically, it's the honor system, right? That you're only going to put those weaves on someone who consents to have those weaves, but you can put them on someone who doesn't have those weaves. And so you're fucking like super doing this whole fucking honor system thing. And then Alana goes And she says that she's going to heal him. And instead of healing him, she fucking bonds him. And you want to know what? The bond between a warder and an Aes Sedai is extremely intimate. You can feel their physical sensations. You can tell what they're thinking. You can tell where they are physically in the world. Like, you know where they are, and you have this fucking compulsion to go to them wherever they're at. Like, listen, I've been married for like 5 years and I love the shit out of my husband, but even I don't have a fucking compulsion to go to wherever he is in time and space. That's fucking bullshit.
Or just make him come to you. You can do that too.
Yeah, exactly. Either or. And so she puts this on him. I'm sorry, that's tantamount to rape. Like, you have just put this thing on this person. Like, that bitch, what are you doing? Have a seat, think about your life, look at your choices. What are you doing? Like, Alana can go fuck herself. Not cool.
The question to you, all of you, is this: did Alana think that he was actually the Dragon Reborn?
Does it matter?
Yes.
Does it matter? I don't think it does.
Because she's putting a death sentence on herself in a way. Did she actually believe in her heart that all the pain he would go through, that she would experience? Like, if she actually I'm not saying what she did it justifies it, but the level of, she thought, okay, this is, I want to make myself in history the Dragon Reborns, like bonded Aes Sedai. Like, I want to poof myself up and like put myself in the record books for all time. Like, I get that, but just think, okay, this asshole is gonna die. God knows when, he go through immense suffering, like the crucible with Jesus and shit. Still gonna bond him. Like, did she actually think that he was a Dragon Reborn and be okay with that as well?
Because
that's an interesting topic.
Here's my whole situation. It doesn't matter what Alana thought. It doesn't matter if she thought that he was the Dragon Reborn. It doesn't matter if she thought that he was fucking shit. It doesn't matter anything. She fucking did this to him without his consent. And I just, like, you want to know what? It makes I'm very angry. Is basically what it boils down to. It's not okay. And then you have similar situations happening when there are people from the White Tower going to the Black Tower, and then they have that whole thing where I don't remember exactly what happened, but then they're like galloping through the woods, and then the men start bonding the women, and it's like, okay, you know what? You guys have you've lost the plot. You guys need to fucking, yes. And somebody else just mentioned Moiraine passing Lan's bond without his consent. That treads a really, really careful line. It treads a really fine line, because, like, I understand what Moraine's motivation was with passing his bond. I get that, because Lan, in addition to being Moraine's warder, also has this whole other, like, fated thing he's supposed to do, dying in the Blight, defending fucking the last of Melchior or whatever. I understand that she's like, okay, if I don't bond him, if I don't pass his bond to somebody else, he's going to go into the Blight and he's going to kill himself because he can't avenge me. I just walked through a door and the door melted.
The idea that these bond passing is happening because the men need it to happen. I mean, there's very much that, like, blaming the victim there, that Lan needs his bond passed so he doesn't die, that Rand needs Alana to bond him so he has the physical endurance and the strength of a warder with the challenges he's facing. Like, how much does that actually save him? Like,
no.
It's an interesting question.
And I mean, I'm not saying that it's right. I'm saying I understand, like, I get what her thought process was. And then her whole thing was, the way that I read it was, she passed Lan over to Morel because she didn't feel like she could pass him over to Nynaeve. Because Nynaeve wasn't ready.
Nynaeve wasn't Aes Sedai.
Yeah, exactly. So she couldn't. And so, like, she passed him over to Morel because Morel has a track record of being able to save warders. Because, as we know, one of the bullshit repercussions of becoming a warder is that when your Aes Sedai dies, you fucking basically lose your mind and you, like, try to avenge their deaths until somebody fucking kills you. Not
It
great.
reminds me of trying to save a prize stallion that breaks its leg. Is like only a couple of people can rehabilitate the stallion, but like it's very much like a possession that you treat and need to save, and like it's an owned animal, not a person.
And it's kind of bullshit because you know that if Lan had been given a choice, if she'd sat down and talked to him and been like, okay, I saw this prophecy and here's the thing that's going to happen, and I'm going to disappear into this doorway and you're going to think that I'm dead. I'm not actually going to be dead, but you're going to think that I'm dead. The bond is going to be broken. Did she sit him down and say, okay, what do you want? Did she say, okay, here's what I'm thinking. I'll pass you over to Morel. She can take care of you for a while. When Nynaeve's ready, she can pass you over to Nynaeve, and you can be with your woman. Did she ask him if he wanted to do that? No, she made that decision for him. And like,
in fairness, I do think that if she had told him about the plan would have failed. That was part of the vision she had when going through the 3-ring.
Was it?
I think that like telling anyone about it before the letter came out would have ruined the plan.
Or even that it
rescue
could.
her. He would have tried to do something. If he knew she was alive in the other realm, he would have done something to try and rescue her, which would have ruined everything.
It would have wrecked everything. That's valid. Yeah. And I mean, then you start looking at it and it's kind of a Kobayashi Maru kind of situation, right? There's a no-win scenario. There isn't anything that you can do that's going to be right by anybody. And that's a shitty situation to be in. But still.
And that's why I love Robert Jordan, because he puts you in these moral conundrums that you have to be like, well, but
right. Did
you know, it's so
Alana
painful,
save
and that's
life by
fucking great writing.
Yeah.
When you don't know what the right moral thing is to do in the situation,
well,
and you're like, that's good writing.
It really is, and I mean, I don't know what I was going to say about it, but it's good. It's really good. But I have a lot of opinions, and Alana did it bad. That was a bad thing she did. It was not cool. And to be perfectly honest, I really don't know what her motivation was. Like, why did you do it? Because first of all, well, and at that,
because she's a dark friend.
Oh, but she's not.
But if you don't know why she did something, maybe it's because she's a dark friend, and that would explain the motivation.
It could potentially be that she's a dark friend.
Can you repeat that a little louder for the rest of us?
I will absolutely not.
That's all right. I can adjust it on the. I have it recorded.
Fuck you then. No, and I mean, at that point in time, like now we know, like we have names for people who are Black Ajah, and we know now at the end that Alana was not among them. But at the time,
according to Verin,
I trust.
You mean
Verin.
According to God?
Bitch, I love you.
Here's the
You
breakdown.
think God wrote everything down in the Bible?
First of all, God
Verin
is Bella. I probably shouldn't say that. So you should have Bella and then Verin underneath her directly. No, I'm playing.
So you're saying Verin's
directly
Jesus.
Under the authority of
Bella is the creator. Bella is God. Verin is Jesus. Yes, that is correct.
So Verin died for our sins, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Technically, yes.
Yes.
Oh, shit, that's
yes.
a t-shirt.
Our Lord and Savior Verin.
She martyred herself.
Well, and I mean, Verin's whole thing is a completely other situation, but God, what the fuck were we even talking about?
Alana being black.
Alana wasn't black because when Perrin and everybody, and actually in this book, on The Shadow Rising, to get back to the subject here, when Perrin was ill in this last chapter that we discussed, it's one of the reasons why Verin couldn't heal Perrin. You didn't realize that the first time you read the book. Back and the arrow wind is through him, and all the boys are sick from fighting Trollocs out in the woods. Eats them, and she goes, Alana will take care of you. Alana will see you. But it was because of her being a dark friend, she could not heal Perrin. And it's the book we read, it made it very careful that anytime anybody needed healing, it was Alana that did it. And even later, I think it was later.
I always thought Verin just wasn't good at healing.
But also, when Perrin goes to rescue Mr. Luhan, Haral's wife and everything, Harl Luhan and the Luhans and stuff from the White Cloak camp, they ask Verin to help them with the battle. And the only thing that Verin can do is provide the cover of a rainstorm, which is neutral. It's not really helping them or the White Cloaks.
Well, she can't fight. She's obeying the 3 oaths. So, whether she has to or not, she's obeying the 3 oaths, which is she won't use the one power as a weapon. She's just going to use it as cover.
True. That is also true. But I find it funny throughout the entire series, no matter who Verin is interacting with in all the books until her suicide by T.
Not until the hour of her death.
She spilled so much.
By the way, so here's my argument for why
the
Alana is a dark friend. Alana doesn't release Rand from his bond until the hour of her death, until she is able to break the oath of a dark friend. Once she has the dagger in the heart, she knows she's dying.
Ooh, brutal.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I got no comeback for that, and I'm trying to come up with one. That is compelling. Yeah, that's compelling.
I'm gonna need to do some research.
Please
give me some time to create my very well research rebuttal. That's interesting.
And then Verin, because they're in such close contact, she didn't put her in the book because she had other plans for her and didn't want her purged with the rest of the Dark Friends.
They do work together a lot.
Yep.
Here's another thing that's interesting. We know that Verin was a dark friend. We know that her warder, Tomas, was a dark friend. Was Tomas Alana's warder?
Yes.
Okay. So Tomas...
No, other way around.
Verin's warder.
Ivan is Alana's warder. Tomas is Verin's.
It's Verin's warder. Okay, so they were both dark friends.
No, I don't think Ivan was.
But Tomas was.
Yes,
Tomas was Verin's, right?
Yes.
So, and the thing that I think is really interesting about Verin is that she was a dark friend, but she was a dark friend under duress. She didn't want to be. And so she half-assed it. She fucking sandbagged it. And did her warder not notice it? Did he not notice?
No, he wanted out. He became
also
her
wanted
warder.
Out. Okay.
Yeah, the reason he became her
clear
warder. On. Yeah. She mentions that the reason he became her warder is she found him and he wanted a way out, and so she bonded him.
Okay.
Because there was no way out, but at least they could sort of be double crossing together.
And Verin was an unwilling member of the Black Ajah.
Yeah, she was. She was
forced in.
She basically was like, okay, well, I had the option to join the Black Ajah and become a dark friend, or get killed, and I said, all right, well. I'll just go ahead and be a Black Ajah, and then I'm gonna fuck you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I would do.
I'm gonna figure out how to violate that oath you made me swear.
I'm just gonna harbor this spite and anger inside for years until finally.
I mean, honestly, just so good. Honestly, that fucking moment blew my goddamn mind. I just stared at my book for a full 3 minutes.
I threw the book.
By the way, your dress.
I feel like before this gets buried,
so good.
I like that Weaver's say the user Weaver is saying. Plus, Verin got the opportunity to study the Black Ajah.
Well, yeah, that was her other thing. She's like,
yeah.
I mean, she's brown
Verin's
as fuck,
kryptonite,
right?
learning things.
It's like you, Jen. You'd go to the Black Ajah if it meant you could learn a thing.
Hey. I said in our very first podcast episode, I said that the brown Ajah is neutral. They're chaotic neutral in the D&D alignment chart, and they'll study things that even the good people will not want to study, including forbidden material. So I think they're willing to go back and forth. I think a brown would have to weigh what they could study being black versus what they could study being good and make that decision. So they're truly neutral in any case. I think if brown would be just as willing to go black as stay white, depending on what the current circumstance.
You think so?
One of the things I love about the brown. Yeah. I think they're completely individualistic because the essence of the Ajah is study, and what a study, but something that draws you. It's not like the brown Ajah is interested in every single kind of study there is under the sun. Each individual brown Ajah rather is somebody that's in the pursuit of what they're interested in, whether it's a certain kind of history or a certain kind of lore from a certain kind of, you know what I'm saying? So whatever.
Well, I like you can always have like a
is,
corrupted Ajah. So like with yellows, instead of healing, you can have someone who can like turn your body against you to kill you. And like you have evil yellows, and like evil whites use logic to figure out that the dark one's actually like the supreme being and we should all follow him. Like evil browns study, for terrible reasons, like evil greens love to torture. Like there's this whole thing about like once you corrupt the purpose of the Ajah, you can take what they do and make it evil and make so that what they're doing is in fact almost a corruption of the purpose of their Ajah. And with the evil browns, they're just studying evil stuff. Like like the evil brown in the group of 13 figures out where the domination bracelets are in Tenchiko. And figure that out. And like, they're still just being browns. They're just using that information to help evil.
Exactly. So they're just as likely to turn black as to stay good. It just depends on the individual and what their pursuit of study is. I think that's what is the essence of neutrality. It could go either way.
And as we find out, about a third of all Aes Sedai turn evil. Now, part of that is probably because there's a nice recruitment plan in, The Black Ajah has been infiltrating and corrupting the Aes Sedai and changing their policies to make sure that there are fewer Aes Sedai and they are more susceptible to being turned. That's Ishmael's influence for 2 millennia.
Does anybody else feel like the White Tower just was really woefully unprepared?
I think everybody feels that way.
Everybody, even the White Tower.
Yeah,
just like. I mean, you look at the Green Ajah, like, okay, so we bought multiple warders and we're down to fuck and whatever. But the main point is that we're supposed to stand ready for Tarmon Gai'dan. We're supposed to be ready to go to battle. We're the battle Ajah. The fuck are you doing? Are you going out and doing drills? Are you fucking blowing shit up? Like, what are you doing?
It's not like they know any more fighting weaves than any of the other sister.
We talked about how each Ajah should actually have like a rotation, how the Green Ajah should have a rotation on the Borderlands and do like a stint fighting on the Borderlands with the Trollocs. And the White Ajah should be like going to cities holding like healing sessions for anyone who needs it. And the Brown Ajah should be like,
right? Like a doctor's residency. You should get raised, and then you have to spend the next 5 years or whatever doing that thing before you're allowed to go off and do whatever you want.
Yes.
The White Ajah should be like founding the schools that Rand ends up founding. Like they should be using their logic, like the
science.
Seriously, like there's so many things the Ajahs should be doing, but they don't because of the insular nature that has been fostered by Black Ajah that has basically infiltrated their ranks and kept them simple, small, and stupid.
Yeah. And I mean, I have said it multiple times that the problem with Aes Sedai in this age is that, like you said, they're insular and they are not, Aes Sedai means servant of all in the old tongue, right? Who are they serving? They're serving nobody. They're not going out to educate the public in general about what it is that they do, what their purpose is. Like, hey, our purpose, we literally exist so that we can use magic to defeat the Dark One if the last battle comes.
It's why the Forsaken scoff at the Aes Sedai. They're like, you call yourself Aes Sedai, you're fucking children. You're not serving anybody. Yeah,
and I think it isn't just because almost everyone has a lower level of power. They've got the scale or the rubric or whatever. But excuse me, past my bedtime. I'm so old. But I think
we've been going for a while.
No, it's fine.
It's like 1:25 at my time.
I'm having a very good time. Beyond the fact that they're lesser in power than what Aes Sedai were during the Age of Legends. You're right. They're children. They're insulated. They are you know, in the same way that people in the world are ignorant of what the Aes Sedai do, the Aes Sedai themselves are largely ignorant of what the rest of the world is doing. And if they were smart, you're absolutely right. They would be sending newly raised Aes Sedai out into the world to like do stuff. Like, all right, you're green Ajah, you're going to go fight shit in the Blight for a while. And you are white Ajah, you're going to go make a school. And you are yellow Ajah, you're going to go work in this hospital. Like, why don't the Aes Sedai have fucking hospitals?
Why is the Grey Ajah out there forming a network to unite all the rulers and bring
you're supposed to be
together?
Fucking diplomats. Why aren't you networking? Like, what are you doing?
You want more Aes Sedai? Well, go find them.
Go fucking find them.
Let's give the Blue that task. Like, go. Like, if you want a task, go fucking find girls.
Go fucking find them. You want a mission. You want a cause? Here's your cause. Go find all these women who are able to fucking channel. Like, when was it Verin and Alana who were coming back from Two Rivers with like literally every adolescent girl in the town because all of them could channel? Like, what the fuck, guys? Theoretically speaking, this is genetic, right? So why weren't you like collecting their mothers? Like, what the fuck are you doing?
That could even be a thing that, like, you get accepted to do. Like, you become an accepted, you go find 5 more girls, then you can come back and continue your training or something, you know?
Yes!
I don't know.
Like, it's just, they really just, I mean, they were doing a bad job, y'all. Just
They were playing the game of Game of Thrones rather than the Game of Houses. Damn it, I got it messed up.
Yeah, when I first discovered Game of Thrones, I was like, somebody already thought of this. Game of Thrones, Game of Houses, like that's not even. Didn't even try that hard.
I mean, and in fairness, it was only supposed to be his first book. Right? Like, after the first book, it wasn't supposed to be Game of Thrones anymore. It was all this other stuff. It was A Song of Ice and Fire. But because the show got named after the first book, Game of Thrones became the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you'll get a lot of people that argue. It's like if somebody says, you know, Game of Thrones in the blah, blah, they're like, no, it's A Song of Ice and Fire. Game of Thrones is the show.
Exactly.
Poindexter.
Have you read Game of Thrones? Yes. And then I read the rest of Song and Ice and Fire, too.
I've read A Song of Ice and Fire, the series. Thank you kindly. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, nerd.
Hey,
you're gonna have to be more specific.
I'm saying that as somebody who has actually read all of those books.
She said to a room full of nerds.
But on this note, dudes, we should probably wrap this up at some point. At least officially, we can.
Past my bedtime.
Yeah.
And I think we are past the 2.5 hour point on this chapter. Oh, not quite.
Sorry.
Almost. No, don't worry about it. I just, we should cut it at some point.
Yeah, I think. Is there anything left to say in this chapter?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. Like, yay!
I think we've covered it all. At some point in that rambling 2.5 hours, we touched on pretty much every aspect of Perrin and Faile's relationship. So,
yeah, a lot of it.
Let's have us on again. Now won't be as tangential, or I won't be as.
You know what? I am not willing to give that guarantee.
It's late when the Europeans start showing up.
It's morning. Popping in, being like, "Good morning," and we're like, "Oh fuck!"
That's how I know we're running late. Because
I feel like he wakes up in the morning and looks at Discord, and if we're still going, he says, "What's up?" It's been happening for like at least a year.
When I was in college, I thought I wanted to be a teacher. I thought I wanted to be an English teacher. Then I took a poetry class and I'm like, fuck this. And I decided to be a music teacher. And then I did my first observation And I was like, oh, you want to know what? I don't like other people's children. I'm going to be a poor educator. So I just stepped out of that whole thing. Like, no teaching for me.
I love the teaching, and for me, podcasting is a form of teaching.
Oh, okay.
I hated all the other bullshit that went along with it.
Oh, yeah.
I have a lot of friends who are teachers, actually. Most of my friends actually were music ed or like elementary ed majors when I was in college. And really the only thing that they really complain about is the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
It's all of the bullshit. You know, the teaching part of it really isn't that bad. Even dealing with parents and stuff is not that bad. It's all of the bureaucratic nonsense that you have to deal with just trying to do your job, which is ostensibly to teach children things.
And you add into that the hours and the pay.
Oh, yeah. Like
both, which are too much and too little.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I work 16-hour days for $30K a year.
Yeah, 60 to 80 hours a week, and they're making 30K, 40K, something like that. And you're just like, okay, you want to know what? No, that's not right. Because I make more money than that, and I just work 40 hours a week writing tweets. So that doesn't seem right.
No, it's not right. It's
at
not
all.
Right. And there's a reason I don't do it anymore. And it's not because I didn't love teaching. And that's a shame.
I mean, it's not right. You know, and I think that that's probably true. I think that's probably true of a lot of people, because ultimately you need to have some quality of life, not to mention the fact teaching is a difficult job. You know, you need to have the sort of the income, the financial stability, do things that you want to be able to do, if that's travel or have a really nice house or whatever. And you can't do that on a teacher's salary. And, you know, it's the work-life balance thing is not in sync for teachers. And it's really unfortunate. I would pay considerably more in taxes if teachers could get paid more. I would be happy to do that. I
just think we should put our money into teachers instead of into wars. A controversial thing.
You want to know what it is, and it shouldn't be, which is fucked up.
Madness.
I saw this video that Ben and Jerry of the ice cream empire did, where they like stacked up Oreos or something like that to like each Oreo represented a X amount of money in the federal budget. And so, you know, there are so many Oreos for education and so many Oreos for Medicare and so many Oreos for this and that. And then there were like a bazillion Oreos, like this huge stack of Oreos, like 2 feet tall for the military budget. Like the budget for education was like 4 Oreos. And there was like 30 Oreos for the military budget.
I can tell your math.
But like we spend so much money on the military, we could take away just a tiny bit of what we spend on the military and like put it into education, and it would make such a difference, and nobody will do it. And it's just like, why?
Yeah. I know, it's so absurd.
And the crime is a lot of grants and science grants are actually gotten through the military. So a lot of money does, in fact, go back to science and back to universities.
Which is
but
great.
It is funneled through the military. But like, why don't we just put it directly into science?
Yeah, why does it have to go through the military in the first place? Yeah. That doesn't make sense.
Why does DoD get to determine the direction of the projects in science labs?
Because then scientists will be helping people, guys. And if we just teach everyone and tend their wounds and make their lives better, we're not going to have any poor people. Then what will we do? Who's going to make Donald Trump's hamburgers?
That's technically true.
Then who are we going to oppress? Oh no. Did I say that?
Can we talk about weather bullshit for a little bit? I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, we can take a weather diversion.
An entire podcast thing, but we're gonna do this on here. So you guys are in Oregon, correct?
Yeah,
that's correct.
It's made national news just this past week. Are you aware?
For what?
There was a gentleman that was snowbound inside of his car for 5 days.
Is this the sauce packet guy?
Yes. He ruined my story. Anyway, this is actually true. He lived off of Taco Bell sauce packets inside of his car for 5 days in Oregon, and he heated them up over his engine block for 5 days until he was rescued in a snowdrift. And Oregon made national news because of that. Now, I have a couple of online friends that live where you guys are at, and I was discussing this with them recently. But that's amazing. As a person that's never seen snow, and I'm a natural Floridian, and I've been my whole life, I find this extremely interesting that this is like national news. And I talk with Jess about it. She's a Wisconsinite. Of course she gets snow. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like this is like a normal winter for you guys. And she was explaining like the snow and like how you guys have to take extra time out of your morning just to get anywhere ever.
I mean,
just trying to rock your car backwards and forwards.
You are very
digging yourself out of the snow.
I love you a lot. You're extremely obsessed with the fact that I had to rock my car to get it out of my driveway that one day.
I literally pondered that for days. I've never even seen snow. So for this to actually impede you in your daily activities is just blowing my mind.
Yeah.
So you guys, how is it? You said you lived in Philadelphia, Seth. Like, how is that any different in Oregon?
Philadelphia gets way more snow
compared
than
to
Oregon.
East Coast.
Yeah, East Coast is way snowier.
It's by like not necessarily, but like you get those drifts.
The difference is on the East Coast they have plows and icing and sanding trucks, so you can actually like drive on the roads. Out here you get a tiny bit of snow, but we have nothing to deal with it.
Yeah,
and so even though. Yeah, it's the infrastructure is just not in place. So even though snow's way less common, the infrastructure is not. Like people don't have snow shovels. Like they can't shovel their driveways because there's not.
What are you talking about? They don't have snow shovels. What do they do?
And Seth and I are in a relatively warm place.
Here's
in
the
Oregon.
thing: the Pacific Northwest is actually an extremely temperate place to live. They're very close to the ocean, which means that they don't get a lot of snow. 99% of the time, they don't get a lot of snow. A lot of them don't have air conditioners
at lower elevations. Yeah,
a lot of them don't have air conditioners because it does not.
My house doesn't have an air conditioner.
It doesn't get hot enough there to warrant having one. Which I mean, for me, 68 degrees is warm enough for an air conditioner, but that's me.
See, I keep my house at 73.
Oh my God, I'm never going to your house.
This is what you have to understand. The predominant winds are blowing from west to east, which means they're coming out from the ocean, picking up whatever temperature the ocean is, and bringing that inland, which means that, the ocean is this gigantic temperature sink. So even though the air temperature is changing, the water temperature is remarkably steady. And so the Pacific Northwest gets the temperature from the ocean. And that's what's keeping us temperate.
And it's all held in by a spine of mountains that cuts Oregon in half. And me and Seth are on the west side of those mountains, so we live in the nice place.
So once you cross the mountains, it's a desert hell.
Yeah, once you cross the mountains, you are now.
Well, it makes sense because then you have like Nevada and like all the Arizona, like everything directly. East of that is just the Barren, is the Iowa essentially.
Then you get the fucking
we live in Pyrean, essentially.
So, wow. Okay,
but
I was just want to let you know that Oregon made national news because of that, and I thought that was very interesting.
So, and I'd just like to make a point: the dude didn't survive on hot packets of hot sauce. He survived on his fucking love handles. Like
it's only 5 days.
No one dies after 5 days without food.
Well, no,
5 days without
true.
Water, maybe, but he's in the middle of a snowdrift. There's plenty of water.
Fine. He's fine.
Like cold, maybe, but he's got his dog to cuddle up with and an engine to run. And
and that's the thing. His car was running. He had heat. Like, suck it up, cupcake.
That's like a vacation, dude. I'll take 5 days in the snow with a running car. Like,
he must have gotten stuck up in the mountains somewhere too, because there's no snow where we are. But if he was like up, in the mountains somewhere, you could easily get buried once you're a couple thousand feet above sea level.
And people can get stuck for longer than a week, and they can die from dehydration.
Well,
and starvation. It does happen.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, the snow. You could like drink that, right? Right?
Because it's literally frozen water. But I think the other thing that's really important to note about other places that even, someplace, let's say Georgia, that gets just a dusting of snow. Well, even a dusting of snow is enough to make the road a little bit slippery, and you have an entire state full of people who aren't used to driving on roads.
Did you hear what happened in Georgia literally last year? They had to shut down like most businesses for a week because people could not drive to work.
Because there was a little bit of snow on the ground. And I mean, for us here in Wisconsin, that's not even worth bringing the salt trucks out. It's not even worth bringing out sand. We're like, whatever. Save our tax dollars. We don't give a fuck. This is fine. But for people who are not used to it, it's...
Infrastructure matters.
Well, and not just infrastructure, experience. Because both. Dusting of snow on the road, I don't even think about that. That's nothing. That isn't even anything that registers on my radar. Fuck, 2 inches of snow doesn't even register on my radar. But for other people who don't get snow on a regular basis, a dusting of snow is catastrophic because you don't know how to handle it. You don't know how to drive on it. Like,
do you know how many grandparents there are in Georgia? Like grandparents driving on snow?
Oh yeah, that's what it is here in the Southeast. Like all of your grandparents live with me now. Here I am in Florida. They decide who's the president of the United States, the way that the voting system goes in this country. Florida always happens to be the state that decides who's the president because of all the freaking retired people here.
Because of all the old people.
Most Republicans. It's unfortunate.
My grandparents were snowbirds from the time I was born. They had a little trailer down in a trailer park down in Florida, and they would go every winter. And one time we went down there, and I was just flabbergasted at the idea of swimming on Christmas Day, because like that's not a thing you do when you're from Michigan or Wisconsin. So yeah, it was fun. A light dusting of snow. Satanist Devin, the first reasoner, is asking, what is a light dusting of snow? A light dusting of snow is a little bit of snow that has been dusted like powdered sugar on a cookie.
He's being funny. He's from Alberta.
Oh. He's from Alberta. Okay.
Yeah.
Shut up. Why are you being like that? Don't be like that.
Or around that area, I'm pretty sure. Where he's from.
He's a wolf brother. He's from Canada.
Take your emoji and suck it.
Just
kidding. I love you very much.
I have a friend from Niagara Falls, and I keep the temperature like in my Weather Channel app constantly on my phone. That way I can just see how the difference is in Florida and there. It's insane. I want to come to SpoilerCon, guys. You guys' con sounds amazing.
Do it and bring your friends.
That sounds crazy. Like, I've always wanted to go to Oregon, and now like this is just extra incentive.
Yeah, it'll be a fun weekend in Portland.
It's in late September.
SpoilerCon. Talk to me about how long has this been in
I just want to talk for a second about Powell's Bookshop.
Sure.
Yeah.
I want to go real bad.
You should.
Everyone loves it.
Don't take the map. Just let yourself get lost.
Just go. I'm into it.
You can get a map when you first walk in.
Powell's Bookshop. Is that like some
it's like a block. It's like a bookshop that encompasses an entire city block. I've never been, but I've heard about it and I want to go so bad.
Like 3 or 4 stories high.
And a basement.
It's huge. I literally got lost the first time I went in there. And
that's amazing.
They'll have like new books, and next to the new books for sale, there's often a used book, which is nice. So you can get like a $4 paperback rather than a $20 one, you know?
That's awesome. I love it.
It's super cool. And SpoilerCon will be in the vicinity of the big Powell's bookshop, because there's at least one more in Portland, maybe 2 more. But the really big famous one
distance is easily.
Yeah, is like in the center of the city, near where we'll be.
No, and SpoilerCon's been in planning. I mean, it happened in late September, right, Patrick? And we really only started planning it maybe a month or 2 earlier, because it was really just, hey, we're going to be at a bar on this date. Come meet us. And then it like got bigger than that. And then once we had it, we like that the day after it happened, they immediately started planning for the next year.
That's awesome.
And said, okay, this is going to be an annual thing. So
I love it.
By the time we have it, it will have been a full year of planning. And there's a whole Discord dedicated to it. And there's just a ridiculous amount of work and planning done by the committee, which includes a whole slew of people, which I'm not going to mention because I'll leave a few out. So I'm not going to say any of their names, but they are doing a fantastic job in making sure that, you know, the con money goes to all the right places, that, you know, it's going to be a good experience for everybody, and that, like, we can actually have a really fucking good time over the course of the weekend and have, like, the space and resources to just have a blast for a weekend and talk
that
about
sounds
WoT.
so good.
Like, it was so much fun.
Just
Just a bunch of nerds hanging out.
It's like
It'll
August
be September
20...
27th, September
Yeah,
27th
end of
through the
September.
29th. Yeah, end of September.
I'm putting it on my calendar right now.
Any way that I can
bad.
go, I'm going. Like I'm putting it. Yeah, me too.
Bitch, do it.
Nice.
And you guys
I'm
are the
gonna
ones
go.
headlining it. It's just you guys. You guys are the ones that pretty much. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's just us. Yeah, I mean,
Come and tell your listeners. Maybe they'll want to come and meet you guys.
Oh, I absolutely will. Jess, we're going to
Why
tell our
would
listeners
anyone-
about it the next episode, right?
Why would anybody
Absolutely.
want to meet us?
Well, that's what we used to think, but apparently
that's what we
people
used to
do
think,
want to meet us.
No, I will.
We're
like, once they've heard your
idiots.
voices enough.
Then they just get brainwashed. That's what it's all
No,
about.
yeah. If there's any way that I can, like I'll talk about it, and we'll go from there. But yeah, anyway.
Well, and definitely one part of what we want to do over at JordanCon is sell SpoilerCon. So that's part of what I'll be doing is trying to convince people who have already gone to a con for Robert Jordan to come to another one on the West Coast, or at least tell someone they know who would love to go to an East, because so many people can't travel coast to coast.
Right.
So, like, if you know someone on the West Coast who wants to go to a JordanCon-like thing, go to SpoilerCon. And, like, it's going to be a little more expensive just because, like, we don't have the resources they have. We don't have the donations. We don't have the infrastructure built up. So, like, unfortunately, you know, we're offering a little bit less. That costs a little bit more. But that's hopefully something we'll be able to bring down as time goes on.
It's ground floor. I mean,
you know,
I'd love to get.
And we're just
down.
not as big. It's, you know, the price per person is going to be higher just because we have way fewer people at this point. So
that I can do it. I'm there, even if I have to. Yeah, no, that's fine because
I mean, the biggest thing, honestly, is airfare.
yeah, no, airfare and hotels, and like that's the, you know, frankly, like you have to pay that whether you're going to Atlanta or whether you're going to Portland, and both of them are pretty expensive. And the difference between a $50 registration and a $100 registration is really like a blip in transportation and hotels.
Leia and Talia are trying to sell you guys right now, talking about how cheap the hostel and stuff is.
Yeah, so let's talk about the hostel. Talk about the hostel.
What's the deal with the hostel?
Let's get in. Let's talk about the hostel. What's going on?
Bearing in mind that I'm very, very old.
So there's definitely options. There's private rooms for $85 a night and dorm beds for $36 a night.
Oof.
So that's, you can either decide whether you want to like be cheap and share a space or actually have your own space and spend a little more money.
I
So
hate
that's
people.
right. So
That's an
maybe
amazing
spend the extra money.
alternative.
It's also
Like,
in the center of Portland, so if you want to find your own fancy pants hotel room or something, it's there. Whatever you want will be there nearby.
In the days when I was driving to cons because I couldn't afford airfare, I absolutely would have taken advantage of that.
Oh, and it's
That's
really good.
I'm hoping
it's
some people do.
amazing that's an option. Like, it's amazing. Because I mean,
for
I've
sure.
gone to Dragon Con pretty much every year since 2010, and it can be extremely cost prohibitive. Staying in a con hotel is pretty expensive, and it's hard to hard to get one. You know,
Yeah.
they've started doing it really weird. This year was weird. Like, for the last probably 5 years, we have just done the same reservation at the Sheraton every single year for Dragon Con. And then they changed everything up and we're like, okay, well, I guess we have to do a lottery, despite the fact that all we ever do is stay at the fucking Sheraton. But okay, cool. Trying to figure that shit out. We did end up getting our room, but you know, that's there are not options for hostels and things of that nature for Dragon Con. So it's nice that those are that's something that is available out there.
I mean, for JordanCon, I think me and Patrick, we've got one room for 2 days, and then we actually have to go to a different hotel for the next 3 nights.
Oh man,
we wanted to go there early, so like we couldn't get one. We didn't stay at the one hotel the whole time, so we had to like. do 2 days at one hotel and 2 days and like 4 days. And I'm hoping that like maybe when we get there we'll be able to merge it together because a lot of times hotels will do shit like that.
Yeah.
But like for now it's still kind of bullshit.
Yeah,
I think I'll be there Thursday too. I think for Jordan Con, I think I'll be there Thursday.
Yeah, we're coming in early, and we actually. I had initially thought that the hotel for Jordan Con was sold out, but what was sold out was actually the con pricing at the host hotel. I just went and reserved a fucking room at the regular price because you want to know what? I'm fucking 40 and I have a good job and fuck it. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on that. So
it's your birthday weekend.
Do you have an extra one of those good jobs?
We are hiring. I can send you a link.
Send the link. Okay. You said we could work remotely?
We have a snack wall and a keg.
Yeah, so I'm sure our listeners will hear more fun things from us at Jordan Con. I think
it's gonna be a good time.
Probably do a live episode there, I'm sure.
Which is going to be a fucking disaster, and I'm excited about it.
I don't know if you guys are going to do it. Like, I'm sure there'll be something with us because we'll hang out or something.
It's basically going to be you and me.
Together. I mean,
it's going to be you and me. It's going to be you and me drunk, yelling, and then like finding Seth and Patrick and yelling at them.
No, I'm not gonna yell at you guys.
And then like finding Daniel and yelling at him.
Talking about Raceland like for fucking 7 hours.
And me and Patrick like, okay, we need a drink. We're leaving. Goodbye.
No. It's gonna be a really good time. And Daniel Green, like, I'm really freaking excited to
it's gonna be awesome.
Meet him. We've had him on our show a few times now, and we've been on his.
He is a delight.
We've been on his WoT Talk a couple days ago on his YouTube channel. So
euphemism drive engaged.
That will be really fun. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm very excited about it.
We played a game of D&D with him, and we had a blast with that.
Oh,
but
amazing!
I just haven't had any opportunity. Like, I'm so behind on editing that, like, frankly, it's just fallen off my list.
Where are all of these people? Where are all of these people playing D&D? I've got this tiefling warlock burning a hole in my pocket. Somebody find me a fucking campaign.
Oh, I have a campaign that I'm doing on Saturday nights, but I'm the only American in my campaign. Like, it's all online. Like, it's really cool. So there's a Canadian is my friend and me, and there's a Brazilian and then an English person from London. And awesome. the times are all weird, but we get together and actually
I feel that so fucking hard. I can't even tell you how hard I feel that.
Actually, I shouldn't say that. DM is from Michigan, but other than that, like the best thing was when our first fight, the English person went to go on a goblin, and the English person said, "Come at me, you fucking slag!" like that in the English accent.
That's very good.
You fucking slag. And I'm like, oh my God, the English cursing. Like, I don't even understand it. I don't call anybody a slag. Who says that in America? But
nobody says that. That's not a thing.
Says slag. It's not a thing.
Excellent.
But it's great. So anyway.
I'm sorry. British cursing is the best.
British cursing. And it was so proper. You fucking slag.
I'd like to comment the rate of people commenting on tonight's episode is crazy. You are awesome. Thank you guys for everything.
I mean, obviously I'm not privy
so
to
much fun.
It's been great. It's been wonderful.
I am very much looking forward to doing our panel at DragonCon. It's going to be a very good time.
Doing this in person is going to be fun. Thank you for the compliment. Y'all
it's
are
either going to be
either
going to be fucking amazing, or we're going to be so awkward.
I mean, we
can be both.
We all know each other because
we contain multitudes.
Yeah,
it's going to be me and Seth, right? You guys, White Tower, Daniel Green. So I've already talked to. I mean, now we've had White Tower on the show. We've done a couple of things with Daniel. And I've talked to Andrew a little just online. We just exchanged some messages. But we're all going to know each other. It's the point I'm trying to make. So it won't be too awkward.
And the reality is, when you actually sit down with these people and you're like, oh yeah, we have the same 400 friends from Wheel of Time, like you feel like you're already friends.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't fucking matter. You're like, you know, the wonderful thing about Jordan Con is like, you already know all these people. You really do.
It'll also be the second day of the con, so we'll all have a blood alcohol level of like 7% by then.
So
forecast calls for fun.
Be like, what the hell is awkward?
I guess we could talk about it. It's going to be Saturday at 10 a.m. They have not come out with a schedule online.
We're going to be over, I'm guessing. But, you know, and I feel like I have a lot of friends.
Hair of the dog, man.
Got to get the hair of the dog to bit you. You'll be fine. I have a lot of hair of the dark hound. Yes.
Hair of the dark hound that bit you.
Hair of the dog.
If that's not the title of a fucking breakfast cocktail, I don't know what is. But I mean, I have a lot of friends that I met on the internet, and you know, meeting them for the very first time at a convention, like my really, really, really good friend Laura, who is my co-host on Girls with Glasses Talk Tolkien. We had talked for like 2 years and never met each other in person until we went to Dragon Con for the very first time. And it was like normal. It was a normal thing. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't weird. It was just like, oh, this is my friend and we talk about this stuff, and now I'm looking at their face right now. It's amazing how you can spend time talking to people online and then you meet them in person for the first time and you fully expect that it's going to be weird, but it isn't weird at all because
it's a little weird.
I don't know. I never found it to be weird, but I mean, I also I have a very low I have a low bar for weird, so
I find it's weird for all of about 30 seconds, that it just takes me that long to match the face to the voice. And like once I turn that switch in my head, I'm good. But it takes me about 30 seconds to a minute to make that adjustment.
I mean,
when I meet somebody and be like, oh, you're blah, blah, you're, you know, this, oh, you're so-and-so from Discord. Like, oh, I've talked to you in this context. And I have like this pre-perceived image of you that doesn't necessarily match your face because I've never seen your face.
But it's just, I mean, this is something, and this is kind of a little bit off topic, but, you know,
Don't worry about it.
I mean, literally everything we've done has been off topic, but, you know, I don't know how much it happens anymore, but back in the day, there used to be this whole sort of online friends aren't real friends kind of thing, and, you know, I respectfully disagree. Because, I don't know, I just think it's extremely cool that you can have this thing where you're like, you meet a bunch of people who like the same kind of things that you do, and you talk to each other on Twitter all day, and then you go on each other's podcasts, and then you go to a convention, and you're like, hey, that's what your face looks like. Okay, cool, let's go, like, fucking get some cereal or something. And then everything is completely normal. And
we
I don't
call
know.
them non-traditional friendships.
Yeah. I'll allow it.
It just feels very like, okay, we're not doing things in the same order. We're not like seeing our faces first and then becoming friends.
Yeah.
We're becoming friends, then seeing each other's faces.
Then we're seeing each other's faces, and it's sort of like,
we're still doing all the same things. Yeah. It's just like the order is all fucked up.
It doesn't matter what your face looks like because I love you anyway. Yeah. And I mean, and honestly, at my wedding, there were a number of people who I see maybe once a year. Because they're internet friends and I only get to see them once a year, except for when they came to my wedding, and then I got to see them twice a year. Like, I don't know. I have a lot of internet.
The only thing weddings are good for.
I mean, seeing your friends, absolutely. And getting drunk.
Well, sure, 2 things.
Yeah, 2 things. Commitment, blah, blah, blah.
Just an excuse.
Everybody's there for the party. Everybody knows that. But yeah, I mean, it's just some of the people that I'm closest to are people that I have met online. And, you know, I don't know if you guys think, I don't know if you all find this, but it's hard to meet people. It's hard to meet friends.
Especially as you get older.
Yeah, it's just like, where are you going to go that you're going to meet people to hang out with? Like in college, you meet people in class, you meet people who live on your floor, like then you leave college and you become an adult and it's like, okay, well, where do I go to find people who like the things that I like? Before the internet, I don't know how people had social lives. I'm not going to lie. I don't understand how it worked.
They went to church and stuff.
I get
yeah.
Neighbors.
I'm gonna have to spam Seth. Seth, you and I are gonna have a Raceland Dragonlance discussion.
This is the greatest friend story ever told.
I'm like down with it because I don't like.
That's all right. I've already seen the death of the podcast. It's okay.
I've already told you guys. Like when I first started, like I was seeing like content from Daniel Green and like content from you guys. I'm like, oh, okay. There's like more than me that actually likes these kind of books and things and what. So this is wonderful that we have this shared community to talk about all the things we like, or snow, or whatever gets our goat.
Just all of our fucking weather bullshit.
But yeah, that's really wonderful. So I'm in for anything fantasy related or things of that nature. There's a lot of things I have not read yet. Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms and early D&D and things like that is totally my jam. Anybody can hit me up about that at any time. And anyway, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to that and meeting Jess for the first time in person. So I'm
gonna hug the shit out of you.
Any of the fans of the White Tower podcast, we and Jess have not yet met ever, so we're going to do that there, and then we are going to obviously have a really good time meeting you, Patrick and Seth. This is like the pregame for our panel together, and this is going to make things much more easier and exciting when we all sit down together at that panel behind the table together. We're going to have this mutual shared experience. So thank you guys so much for having us on.
Get it, Jen, somebody wants to film us hugging each other for the first time.
That's fine. I'm probably going to be filmed every second I'm outside of the room. I don't care.
Bitch.
I'm already out. I don't care.
Up on your jack.
I don't give a shit. So that's what I'm there to do, is meet people and have a good time and talk about these things, because otherwise, beyond the podcast and these sort of things, I have a very quiet life. Believe it or not, it's true. So this is going to be a good time to meet you guys. And thank you so much, Patrick and Seth. You guys are flipping amazing for being a cornerstone and for really setting off the podcast community the way you guys hold it down time and being the cornerstone for that.
We're still perpetually amazed that we're a cornerstone of anything.
You are.
Seriously.
You are, though. But you really
are. And then you were
true.
like, oh, hey, come on our fucking podcast. And we're like, what? What are you talking about? Are you sure?
We appreciate you guys.
You might want to think about that again, because we're idiots.
Yeah, on second thought.
You made a mistake. Just like Joe Bluth, I've made a huge mistake.
So I'll diverge a little bit more.
Please.
Will Friedle from Boy Meets World, the loser older brother character. Are you familiar with him?
I
know what he looks like.
On Boy Meets World.
On Boy Meets World. So he apparently has done some voice acting, but he hasn't done a whole lot of acting. And like, he recently did an interview with Roll20, and he went off about how Wheel of Time is just the best fucking book series ever.
Nice.
And way better than Lord of the Rings, and like was dismissing Harry Potter, and like
dude
was like up. And so I sent him a message on Twitter being like, hey, I want you to come on our podcast. And so for those of you out there who are willing to be Twitter trolls, go hit him up and tell him that like he needs to be on WoT Spoilers, because he was on fucking point with his Wheel of Time criticism, and I would love to pick his brain about
Holy shit, that's awesome. I love that. And I love everything about it. Oh my god, that's so good.
Yeah, guys, so I agree with that. I hope he goes on your podcast, and that way he can put his money where his mouth is. I'm like, okay, you like Wheel of Time?
People are asking what his name is, but all I can remember is Eric Matthews.
And fucking Obscure Chris is like, my 5 accounts are ready.
Mr. Matthews.
Fucking, that's so good. That's excellent. Between
I don't know,
the
I'm
sheets,
terrible at remembering actors' names.
That's evocative.
So I am sending my Twitter trolls out to swarm him.
Fly, my pretties.
Fly, my pretties. Bring him to me.
Cue alarming
correct,
music.
Jesus.
Hey, Will Friedle, this is the guy right here. This Will Friedle guy.
Yeah,
All right, well,
I just posted a link
happening.
to his wiki page.
Oh, God.
Dear Will Friedle, how are you? I am fine.
Oh, he doesn't know what just fucking hit him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Will. I'm so
regret to
sorry.
inform you that
Well, I want to
you are
congratulate
in
you
trouble.
for your next guest on the WoT Spoilers podcast, and you have a good time with Will Friedle, who will be more than happy to sit down with you guys.
If you would like us to come on to be the Peanut Gallery, we're happy to do that. We are very good at talking shit. It's fine.
But yeah, watch his like a hour-long interview on Critical Role between the sheets, and he gets deep into like talking about anxiety and how that's affected him, which is something I've talked about before on the podcast. And like he's talked about like how Wheel of Time got him through that.
My captain, fucking, I'm with you on that. Fucking
yeah.
Ugh.
Apparently,
so like,
what meds are you on, bud?
Zoloft, the generic, whatever, serotetraline. Yeah.
Nice. I'm on like 5. I'm fucked.
I'm actually pretty low dose. It doesn't take much to keep me going. So like, I mostly deal with it with behavioral stuff. But
that's nice.
The medication helps a lot. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I just don't leave my house. It's great.
It's who just don't talk to anybody. It's fine.
But
I spend my whole life with my headphones in, editing in a podcast. That's really how I deal with my anxiety.
Then you don't have to worry about it.
Fantastic.
That's the dream.
Triggers are very minimal. They're very minimal when you're doing that.
I said I want to start the live panel at JordanCon with I started podcasting so I wouldn't have to talk to anyone in person, and I have failed miserably.
I'll do it. I'll be there.
You done fucked up.
Aaron.
Aaron. I will play with you in that space. I am all about it. Yeah, you want to know, I think that as podcasters, we have a kind of unique opportunity to speak to, whatever our audiences are, whatever their sizes are, to kind of speak to them about mental health issues. It's something that people don't like to talk about it. And I, myself, personally, try to kind of break out of that whole sort of, this is something that I need to keep quiet. There are stigmas attached. There is a problem with me talking about this. And, so I try to be extremely open about it. And
yeah, one of the things I really appreciated Will talking about in that interview was that the one thing that helped him more than anything else, his anxiety, was talking about his anxiety.
Yeah.
Is that once he was able to have conversations and be open about the fact that, like, yeah, this is just something I deal with occasionally. It's like, it's annoying now more than anything else. I have the tools to cope with it. And, like, it doesn't go away. But now that I just deal with it, I can just be like, okay, yeah, I'm having a panic attack. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, and, for myself, I always had this thing where I would usually in the middle of the goddamn night, which it was extremely inconvenient. If I were sleeping anywhere other than my own house in the 1 o'clock in the morning, I'd be like, okay, I've got to go. I need to leave here. It doesn't matter that it's my friend's house that I've been to a million times over the course of a decade. It doesn't matter. I have to go. And it's really frustrating, and you feel bad about it. And at the time, I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't know what I was feeling. I didn't know what the issue was. I just knew that I needed to go away from this place and go to my own house because I could not handle being someplace else. And once I understood what it was that I was dealing with and I was able to articulate it, just that by itself was such an enormous relief that I could look at my friends and be like, listen, it isn't that I don't love you. It isn't that I don't want to have breakfast tomorrow morning. It's that I am having an anxiety problem right now, and I need to be in my own home where I feel safe. And it's nothing against you. It's just what I need to do. And that helped enormously. Also, gabapentin helped enormously with my whole situation. I have got a lot going on, and I finally have a sort of medication cocktail happening that makes it so that I can function like a normal person. And can I just say, it feels good. It's really nice, and I love it. And so if there's anybody out there who is encountering something similar, like if you can, figure out a way to find a psychiatrist and go and talk to them and like work on getting your shit fixed, because you don't have to live like that. It doesn't have to be that way.
Oh,
like that's my biggest thing. It doesn't have to be like this. Just go talk to somebody. Awkward silence.
It took a girlfriend of mine to really get on me to really go to a doctor and get help. And like, I was like, I don't need it. And like, yeah, I did. Yeah. It turns out I did. And it took someone forcing me into that situation. It took someone pushing me to get help. And I, didn't know how to do that on my own. And I could probably still use some more, but it's expensive. And it's just one of those things where like, yeah, I mean, we all have issues.
Yeah.
And, some of us really shouldn't and can't deal with them by ourselves. And you can get into this really terrible downward spiral if you're trying to deal with everything by yourself.
And there's this whole like attitude kind of, there's this sort of societal pressure that you need to suck it up and pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And if you can't figure it out by yourself, then there's something wrong with you. And it took a really long time for me to realize that, there's kind of something wrong with me, but it isn't that I'm a bad person. It isn't that I'm bad at being a friend or a spouse or whatever. It's that my brain chemistry doesn't work right. And I need kind of a lot of medication to deal with it. It's not my fault. That's just the way it is. And it's really difficult sometimes to come to terms with that. And,
I still think of myself as a bad friend because of that.
I honestly feel terrible still years later about, dates that I've made with friends that I have then punked out of because I couldn't leave my house. And I didn't feel like I could just tell them that I don't feel like I can leave my house right now. I'm very sorry. And it's really hard.
And the number of times I've reacted in anger when it was really just anxiety instead has harmed me in both like a workplace and social circumstances. Like it's really just anxiety that I need to go deal with. And instead of, as what does Yoda say? Fright turns to anger. There's some saying there. But, instead of dealing with the fact that I'm feeling anxiety, I'd lash out. And that causes all sorts of issues.
I've had that issue as well. All right, so let's dig in. I have generalized anxiety. I have generalized anxiety disorder. I have moderately severe depression. I have attention deficit disorder. And it's not diagnosed officially yet, but I do have PTSD from an abusive former relationship. And it's made life really hard. And I try to be really open about it because, the thing is, like, sometimes I have trouble concentrating. Sometimes I have trouble kind of reacting to things in the way that a sort of quote unquote normal person would. And so I feel fortunate that I work for a company that is pretty open and understanding about those kinds of things. So I've always felt comfortable telling my immediate supervisors, hey, here's the deal. I've got ADD. I've got anxiety. There are days when I'm going to work from home because I literally can't leave the house, but I'll still get shit done, and I kind of, by virtue of just who I am as a person, I'm very much sort of like, okay, this is what's the deal. And if you don't like it, you can fuck off. But most people I think are not like that. And so I feel like, because I am a person who is more comfortable talking about it, I have an obligation to talk about it because there are other people who feel like they can't, and somebody has to say something. Does that make sense? Like,
there's a reason we're talking about it right now, and that's because I
yes, it does make
everything
sense.
you just said. You know, like I also try. I'm not sure. I'm not the first person to be like, hi, I have depression, and my name's Seth. I try to like put those into the different order. But like, I'm not going to hide it from you. Like, it's something, and anxiety is probably a more accurate term than depression because,
the symptoms,
I don't feel like I'm depressed at all.
The symptoms overlap. They
do.
frequently overlap. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's something that like it just you have to pretty much do what you can for me. And like, I feel like there's, I don't know. This is where we can get into the difference between men and women here, because I feel like as a male, I don't get to say I have anxiety and deal with it. Fuck you. It's, I'm a man. I'm going to have to suck it up.
Well, and I think that that's true. I think that, I mean, toxic masculinity, let's go there. Let's fucking do it. Fucking, here we are. We're going to go there. Toxic masculinity.
We walked into it sideways, but we're here.
Here we are. Toxic masculinity is damaging to everyone, not just people who aren't men. It's damaging to men as well. Just like we were talking about earlier with the whole like, hey, my dad doesn't want to go to the fucking emergency room because he cut himself. And I mean, that's just him honestly being too busy to go to the emergency room. My father does not generally encompass toxic masculinity. I can say with authority that he really sort of raised my sister and myself both the way he would have raised any child, regardless of gender. But there's this whole sort of men need to suck it up. Anxiety doesn't feed the tribe, like whatever kind of issue. And it does you a disservice because it puts you in a situation where you feel like you cannot honestly talk about your feelings and the things that you're going through. And that's a shitty position to put you in. You should not be in that position. You should not have to be a woman to say, I have human emotions. I'm feeling this way right now. It fucking sucks. It's so unfair.
Yeah, we're all supposed to be T1000.
And like, nobody wants that.
Well, sure.
Like have a human emotion, like be like, hey, here's my tear and I'm going to go to my therapist and everybody's fine.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?